Hello my dear viewers, I would like to thank you for watching the video and I wanted to say subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be very grateful and you will not miss new videos. Enjoy the video. My name is Laura Mitchell. I live in a small town in Oregon, surrounded by dense forests and winding back roads. It's the kind of place where nothing much happens and people like it that way. But last weekend, something did happen, something I still can't explain. It started when I took my dog, Scout, for a walk. There's a trail behind my house that winds through the woods, quiet and peaceful. It was late afternoon, the sun filtering through the trees, and I remember thinking how perfect the weather was. Scout was trotting ahead, his tail wagging, when he suddenly stopped. His ears perked up, and he let out a low growl. "What is it, boy?" I asked, glancing around. That's when I heard it, a voice. It was faint, coming from deeper in the woods, but clear enough to send a chill down my spine. It wasn't yelling or panicked, just calm and steady, repeating the same phrase over and over again. "Laura, come here." My heart skipped a beat. At first, I thought it was someone I knew, maybe a neighbor playing a prank, but the voice sounded wrong. It was too familiar. It sounded like me. I stood frozen on the trail, Scout growling low beside me. The voice continued, calm and steady. "Laura, come here." It wasn't just the tone that was off, it was the way it echoed, bouncing through the trees like it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaking. The forest went silent. No birds, no wind, not even the sound of Scout's growls, just silence. I wanted to turn around and run, but something made me take a step forward instead. Scout barked, tugging at his leash like he wanted to go back. "Hello," I called again, taking another step. That's when I saw it. About 20 feet off the trail, tucked between the trees, was a small wooden structure. It wasn't much, just a crude shack made of mismatched boards, half hidden by overgrown brush. I'd walked this trail dozens of times and had never seen it before. Scout whined, his tail tucked between his legs. I knelt down, rubbing his head. "It's okay, boy, just a quick look." The voice came again, softer now. "Laura, come here." It was coming from the shack. Against every ounce of common sense I had, I stepped off the trail, pushing through the brush until I was standing in front of the shack. The door was slightly ajar, revealing nothing but darkness inside. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling. No response. I reached out and pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, the sound echoing through the quiet woods. Inside, the shack was empty. The floor was dirt, the walls lined with old, rusted tools. A broken chair sat in the corner, and a tattered blanket was crumpled in the middle of the floor. But there was no one there. I turned to leave, but something caught my eye. Scratched into the wood of the far wall, deep and jagged, were the words, "Not Laura." My stomach twisted. Before I could react, Scout barked furiously. I turned to see him staring into the woods, his fur bristling. And then I heard it, the voice again, louder this time. "Laura, come here." But it wasn't coming from the shack anymore. It was coming from the trail. I bolted out of the shack, Scout barking and straining at his leash. My heart was pounding as I stared back at the trail where the voice had come from. "Laura, come here." It was louder now, clear and unmistakable. It sounded just like me, but more distorted, like an old recording played through broken speakers. I couldn't see anyone. The trail was empty, stretching into the woods in both directions. Scout whimpered, pulling back toward the shack like he wanted to hide. I knelt beside him, whispering, "It's okay, boy. We're leaving," but as I turned to head back, the voice came again. "Laura, come here." This time, it was closer. My instincts screamed to run, but something about the voice rooted me to the spot. It was like hearing my own reflection, and the longer I listened, the more unsettling it became. I tightened my grip on Scout's leash and started walking back toward the trailhead, my steps quick and deliberate. The forest felt different now. The sun had dipped lower, casting long, jagged shadows across the path. Even Scout was acting strange, his ears flat against his head, his growls turning into soft, frightened whines. And then I saw it. Up ahead, partially hidden by the trees, was a figure. They were standing still, too far away to make out any details, but there was something disturbingly familiar about the way they stood. I stopped, gripping Scout's leash tighter. "Who are you?" I called, my voice shaking. The figure didn't move, but then they spoke. "Laura, come here." The voice was perfect. It wasn't just mimicking me, it was me. The cadence, the tone, even the hesitation in my words. My stomach churned as the figure stepped closer. Their movements were slow, deliberate, like they were testing each step. I backed away, panic rising. "Stay back," I shouted. The figure stopped. For a moment, the forest was deathly silent. And then they spoke again, softer this time. "Why are you running, Laura?" I didn't answer. I turned and ran. Scout and I tore down the trail, my breath ragged and my legs burning. I didn't dare look back, afraid of what I might see. The voice followed me, growing louder, more insistent. "Laura, come back." It was everywhere now, echoing through the woods from all directions. By the time I reached the trailhead, my lungs were on fire. I stumbled out of the woods, Scout at my side, and collapsed onto the gravel road. The voice stopped. The forest behind me was quiet again, as if nothing had happened. But when I turned back toward the trees, I froze. Standing at the edge of the trail was the figure. And this time I saw their face. It was mine. My heart stopped as I stared at the figure. They weren't just similar to me, they were identical. Same hair, same clothes, even the same small scar on my chin from when I fell off my bike as a kid. It was like looking into a living, breathing mirror. Scout barked furiously, pulling at his leash, but I couldn't move. My double stood at the edge of the trail, their expression blank, their eyes fixed on mine. They raised a hand, mimicking the exact motion I made when I reached for Scout. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice cracking. The figure tilted their head, their lips curling into a faint smile. "Why are you running, Laura?" The voice wasn't distorted anymore. It was my voice, perfect and precise. I stumbled backward, clutching Scout's leash. "Stay away from me," but they didn't move. "You shouldn't have come here," they said, their tone soft, almost sympathetic. "You weren't supposed to see this." "See what?" I demanded. The figure's expression darkened. The echo. Before I could respond, they stepped forward. Their movements were smooth, deliberate, like they were in complete control. I backed away, my pulse racing. "What do you want from me?" The figure stopped, their eyes narrowing. "This isn't about what I want," they said. "It's about what you took." I froze. "What are you talking about? I didn't take anything." They tilted their head again, their smile returning. "You don't remember, do you?" I shook my head, my mind spinning. "I don't know what you're talking about." Please, just leave me alone." The figure didn't respond. Instead, they pointed to the shack in the woods, their smile fading. "You should have stayed on the trail," they said. "Now it's too late." Without warning, Scout lunged forward, barking wildly. His sudden movement snapped me out of my daze, and I turned to run. I didn't stop until I reached my house, slamming the door behind me. My chest heaved as I locked every door and window, my hands trembling. Scout whined, circling nervously near the door. I dropped to my knees, hugging him tightly, but then I noticed something. The woods outside my window were still. I stared at the edge of the tree line, half expecting the figure to emerge. But there was nothing, no movement, no sound, just silence. And then, from somewhere inside the house, I heard it. My voice, "Laura, come here." I turned slowly, my heart pounding. The sound was coming from the hallway where the light flickered faintly. I grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the sound, my breath shallow. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaking. No response. The voice came again, softer this time. "Laura, come here." I followed the sound to my bedroom, the door slightly ajar. I pushed it open, the flashlight trembling in my hand. The room was empty, but then I saw it. Scratched into the mirror above my dresser were two words, "Not Laura."